People with social anxiety cannot stand being silent in the presence of others. They feel like if their mind is not constantly running on overdrive around other people, they're going to lose interest in them. So what do? They try to say things to keep the conversation going. This can make one-on-one situations unbearable to people with social anxiety, to the point that it can even become panic-inducing. Just imagine for a second. Imagine constantly having to think around other people, never being able to let go or enjoy yourself around people. That is what it's like every single day for someone with social anxiety. Larger social settings can also trigger social anxiety. Those of us who have been to parties, group gatherings, or things like concerts understand what I'm talking about. Having social anxiety is a fear of judgment that can happen in any setting, regardless of size. The reason why group settings can trigger anxiety is because people with social anxiety tend to be incredibly sensitive in social situations. It can be overstimulating for their brains to process all these high amounts of social information. So in large social contexts, social anxiety can run wild. The second kind of situation that influences social anxiety is anything involving emotional proximity, or how emotionally engaged you are in the situation at hand. Emotional proximity in social situations exists on a spectrum, from intimate conversations to small talk. For people with social anxiety, both of these situations can cause intense worry and self-doubt. In close relationships, for example, social anxiety often comes from the fear of rejection. Because they have such deep insecurities about who they are, people with social anxiety tend to withdraw from deep emotional connection. Because of years of believing they are worthless, they've instilled inside of them that being close to others is associated with danger. This behavioral, social withdrawal that they feel is deeply related to an emotion that sits at the core of social anxiety disorder: toxic shame. In future videos, I will talk more about toxic shame and how it serves as the root of social anxiety disorder. On the flip side, small talk can trigger social anxiety because it is endlessly unpredictable and open-ended. You can never know what to expect in small talk situations. And because of this, it can be a sea of anxiety for someone who is socially anxious. Not knowing how the other person will respond, or whether your words will land the way you hope, can create uncertainty that can drive people mad. The third kind of situation that activates social anxiety is performance settings. Things like delivering a speech, giving a presentation, performing music, or even speaking up in a meeting can be things that trigger anxiety. But most people don't really understand how severe this anxiety can really be. For people without social anxiety, giving a speech in front of an audience can feel difficult, but not unbearable. They could probably get up on a stage and at least say something to the audience. But for someone with social anxiety, however, that just is not possible. Their anxiety is so severe to the point that they literally cannot communicate what it is they want to say. The reason for this is because of something called amygdala hijack, where our brain essentially immobilizes our brain's rational center for thought. Because of this, our prefrontal cortex shuts down, making anything that we want to say unsayable pretty much. For someone with social anxiety, I want to put this into context for you. They could memorize all of what they needed to say before a speech, know every syllable, but because of their anxiety, they literally cannot open up their mouths to even articulate what it is they want to say. This is one of the many reasons why people with social anxiety fear getting up on a stage so much. They know that if they get up on that stage, they are fighting a losing battle. At this point, it is their fear ruling them, not the other way around. They don't have control over their performance at this point. At this point, they are barely even able to tread water. The final kind of situation that triggers social anxiety is academic or professional settings. Things like presenting in a meeting, answering questions in class, participating in a group project, or giving a pitch to colleagues or a supervisor are things that can trigger social anxiety. These things can be stressful for people with social anxiety because they involve putting your intellectual qualities on display. Professional anxiety, in this sense, tends to focus on competence, the fear that you'll make a mistake, fail, or be seen as incapable. But this fear can also function in the opposite way as well. Because people with social anxiety get so drained by social interactions, their ability to perform cognitive tasks is greatly diminished. This can make them perform significantly worse in school or their job. For me, this idea used to ring true in my life every day. Doing an assignment for school would easily take twice as long for me to complete as it would for me now. Taking a test would be twice as hard, and my grades would be incredibly hard to keep up with. This is why social anxiety has consistently been linked to school dropout and economic poverty. In previous videos in this series, we talked about how social anxiety can be triggered by our thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, and the people around us. In this video, we focused on another piece of the puzzle, the situations themselves. By recognizing patterns in the situations that activate your anxiety, whether it's one-on-one situations, large groups, performance settings, or work and school environments, you can start to understand the root of your fears and take steps towards responding differently. If you want to dive deeper and explore strategies to handle these triggers, feel free to head over to my blog, which is linked in the description, where I break down these situations in even more detail. And don't forget to watch the first 2 videos on this series on internal and interpersonal triggers to get the full picture of how social anxiety shows up and what you can do about it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all soon.